everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope we're doing well, and today we have a box office preview for Ghostbusters Afterlife once again, this time coming from Deadline. So this is the last of the official box office prognosticators' predictions on what they think the movie is going to do, not just domestically, but worldwide. And their conclusion is that the movie will only make $45 million total in its worldwide opening. So let's go ahead and break these numbers down and talk about it just a little bit more. And also, I would just encourage anyone out there, especially if you are someone like me who thought that the 2016 Ghostbusters was an atrocity. I know, River. She agrees with me. Against humanity. It was a disgrace against humanity. Please make sure that you smash the like button, light that fire button, and also smash the rumble button. It really does mean a lot. And also make sure you subscribe to the channel with that bell notification turned on. That way you know every time a new video or live stream goes live on the channel. So I myself have my IMAX ticket to go see this film tonight. So very excited because from what I hear, and there are indeed some mixed reviews out there for this movie, even from people that I trust, people like Jeremy Johns, I know kind of had a mixed approach to it, basically saying that it has a lot of nostalgia, which is great, but that the story is lacking. And so we'll go ahead and, of course, see that for ourselves, I think. But I would recommend anyone out there that if you are someone that is just a fan of the Ghostbusters franchise, if you are someone that wants to support someone who is actually going to respect source material and is actually going to give fan service, again, I think that fan service, for the sake of fan service, is still not justification for a movie to be good. I still hold to that principle. But at the same time, I think that if we're going to live in a world where critics are going to clearly give higher praise to a film like Ghostbusters 2016 simply because the most innovative idea they had in that movie was, what if we made all of the Ghostbusters women? And in this case, we have someone saying, hey, no, let's actually go back and respect source material and try and make it a little bit more fun with, having kids involved and making it more like a Stranger Things type of thing. Again, derivative of other properties, no question about it. But at least this one is seemingly fun. So I'll take fun over politics any day. So if, again, that's something that you feel like you want to support and that you feel like might be the best thing, or at least something that you would like to go out of your way to give money to, hey, buy a ticket to Ghostbusters Afterlife just for that sake of that principle alone. I, of course, will come back with my full review, and I will break it down from an objective way as best as I possibly can and tell you whether or not the film story is as bad as some people are saying that it is, and also just how much of the fan service is in there and how much does it detract or distract away from possible bad storytelling elements. But here's the thing. The people that are projecting for this movie do not think and do not expect this film to do very well, as you can see right here from $45 million worldwide opening. The very, very, very low opening. Obviously, this film is opening up in other countries across the world later on as well, towards the beginning of December. However, this is still not a good sign early on. It says, in the wake of Sony's attempt to reboot Ghostbusters in 2016 with a female leading cast, the studio hasn't given up on the IP and is finally releasing an all-new Jason Reitman-directed sequel, Ghostbusters Afterlife, which it has protected for a theatrical release throughout the pandemic. So let's just, again, obviously I think it's kind of implied in that sentence, but it's important just to make it very, very clear there. Yes, you mean the Ghostbusters reboot that failed miserably, that was rejected wholeheartedly by fans because it sucked, and because the only idea that they had to go off of with that film was, hey, let's just make the Ghostbusters all women. That's it. That's all that they had for that story. That's all that they had for that movie, and it flopped. It was a terrible film. It flopped in the box office, and it is now remembered as a joke. Not to mention, I believe it was Movies Anywhere was basically giving the film away if you signed up your accounts and attached your different accounts to have all of your movies all in the same place. So it's that kind of a movie, and it is not all that surprising because of just how terrible it actually was. And then it goes on to say it is now, they still have faith in the franchise, though, by releasing a directed sequel. And so it's not a sequel to Ghostbusters 2016, right? So it kind of implies, right, a reboot of Ghostbusters was in 2016. It was supposed to take place in essentially a different universe, even though if you actually watch the film, it kind of, you have all of these kind of implications, and you have all these things where it's like, okay, it's still kind of connected, obviously, to the original universe in some form or some fashion, and it's just not very good. It's just terrible. That being said, we look to this film, and it is a clear sequel to Ghostbusters 2, and that, of course, just has me all excited. Now, I will say this much. If you don't want to know anything about this movie, if you don't want to have any idea of who might be in this movie, hopefully you have not actually read any of these articles or any of these other things, and I would say that this might be the time to stop watching the video as far as casting is concerned, because I had my own speculations and had my own ideas and concepts, but I've been holding them off on the video just for that very reason. But I will say, again, and give that warning that if you don't want to know anything about it, that you may not want to read on any further. So it goes on to say, exhibition bosses went nuts at CinemaCon for the movie, which has been described as having a Steven Spielberg-esque sensibility in its cast of kids, one of whom is descendant of Harold Ramis's Dr. Egon Spengler from the original 1980s movie. And again, I think that that casting is perfect because it looks just like what the grandchild of that character of Dr. Egon and what the character played by Annie Potts would have been as well. I thought, again, that would have been phenomenal, and that would have been, I think, again, that was phenomenal casting just based on the look alone. I can obviously have to wait to see the performance, but based on the look, she looks like the prodigy of both of those actors, which is kind of an amazing thing, especially obviously the characters. And, obviously hair and makeup go into that, but I think, again, kudos to them for being able to do so. It goes on to say, one of whom is the descendant, or I already talked about that, franchise vets Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Sigourney Weaver, and Annie Potts are back as well. So again, a couple of those names I had an idea. We knew Annie Potts was back from the trailer. We knew that Dan Aykroyd was back from the last trailer because you hear his voice at the very end. But and obviously there's been a lot of promotion for this film, and I think they're starting to kind of give away some of what some people might view as spoilers, or what some people might view as stuff that they would rather be surprised by. But Bill Murray and Ernie Hudson, Dan Aykroyd, they're basically doing the circuit right now, promoting the film. But that, I think, is actually the way in which this film could be and should be a much bigger success than what some of these people are projecting that the film is going to be. Because when you have big names like that, when you have the people, right, who are so emotionally tied, mentally tied for any fans of the franchise to the franchise, that is how that you're going to be able to sell this film. Add on top of that, you have someone like Finn Wolfhard, who is a big star in his own right, especially amongst the younger crowds, right, the Stranger Things leaning crowds, so a younger generation. That again, I think this has all of the pieces to bring young and old together to do much better than what they are saying that this film is going to do. At least that is my hope, and that is my expectation, at least better than the $45 million worldwide that they are saying for this movie. It goes on to say, there's been a fervent response to Ghostbusters Afterlife from local press out of recent screenings, and Sony is betting that the feature, which is also produced by original Ghostbusters filmmaker Ivan Reitman, will be a holiday sleeper. If the pick comes up short this weekend for some reason, let's see where it stands by the end of the Black Friday weekend. And of course, I always go by what is at the end of the first 2 weeks, but that's also assuming that we have a really bad opening weekend, which again, again, this is feeling in my gut, and I could totally be wrong on this, and if I am wrong on this, I of course will eat crow on Sunday for the box office breakdown, but I really do think this film is going to overperform not just the Sony projections, but also the industry projections as well. So let's go ahead and dive into what those are. These are the last projections before any actual money has come in from Thursday's showing. So it says Sony is conservatively projecting $27 to $28 million for the US Canadian weekend. Industry rivals are seeing $30 to $35 million from 4,300 screens. Now remember, Box Office Pro is saying the range is going to be between 40 and 60. This is 8% down from one of their original projections, but I, again, think this is more likely going to be the domestic range for this film. And I even said in the last video, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes over $60 million in its opening weekend. And again, I just think it's because there is just a lot of excitement for this movie, and the film is not too long on the long side. And I think that also the fact that its first showings are starting at 4 p.m. means it's going to have more show times. It's opening up earlier, and I hope and pray that this is able then to bring this film down into being a much bigger success than this. It says tack on an overseas launch in the UK, Germany, Italy, Latin America, Benelux, Sweden, and Denmark, and the global start for the movie could reach $45 million. As the adage goes, Ghostbusters is a domestic property, not overseas. So based on what we are seeing with that, it seems to indicate that the film is only going to make $45 million total. So 30 to 35 million domestically, and only about 10 million from the other countries, right? It says there, global start, right? All of the territories together at 45 million, And it goes on to say that this is a domestic property, and that's the reason why you're only seeing about $10 million added on there. I, again, hope that this is not the case. And some factors that could have an impact on that, as I said, are not just those names of Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, but also the fact that you have a younger cast featuring the likes of Finn Wolfhard, and how Stranger Things has also been a massive property, could also bring in a new generation of fans. That's what they were trying to do with Ghostbusters 2016, trying to say, ooh, let's focus on the female demographic. And guess what? It was wholeheartedly rejected, not just by fans, but especially by the female demographic. So if anything is going to be able to bring not just the female demographic, but younger demographics, all demographics out, it's going to be a film like this with, again, having the icons of the industry, the icons of the franchise in the film, even if it is in a more featured small role, and having the kids in the film. I imagine in my head for a second, and I think they would be silly not to have that. At some point, you're going to have the OG Ghostbusters next to each other, and then you're going to have basically the new age of Ghostbusters right next to them, all with their plasma packs, all, again, kind of just, maybe crossing the streams or something like that. And I think that, again, in my head, if that is the image that comes across, I think that just sounds like an awesome image. Or even better, and again, this is kind of me, I guess, kind of a fantasy booking here for a movie. The 3 originals, and then instead of having the other kids, you just have one of them. And it's that little girl who looks just like what the granddaughter of Egon and the character played by Annie Potts would play. Because then you have that homage to Egon. That, I think, could also be not just a badass moment, but also an incredibly emotionally powerful moment as well. Now, whether or not they did that or not, I don't know. I haven't seen the film yet, but again, that's just kind of like where the wheels of my head are turning and spinning at this point in time. It goes on to talk about Rotten Tomatoes, which, of course, has just proven itself to be a complete joke. It says, currently, Ghostbusters Afterlife is 66% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes from 89 reviews. That's better than the 59% of the 1989 Ghostbusters 2, which, again, I personally thoroughly enjoyed. Not as good as the original, but, hey, still a lot of fun. And under the Rotten Tomatoes score for the Paul Feig 2016 reboot, 74% fresh. So keep in mind that critics gave, and Rotten Tomatoes gave, a fresh rating, a much better fresh rating to the 2016 Ghostbusters than Ghostbusters 2 and, at this point, Afterlife. To me, this is the critics' attempt to say, hey, even if we had fun with this movie, we know this film cannot possibly, we do not want this film to possibly be able to have a better rating than the 2016 one, because they are just so obsessed with their own egos. They are just so obsessed with their own stories, with their own narratives, that they cannot let that happen. They cannot let what they deem still to be a certified fresh movie that fans rejected, that audiences hated, they cannot possibly have it. So do not be surprised to see a massive response from fans in a positive direction in comparison to the 2016 movie. But again, it is ridiculous that the one film starring Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, and Leslie Jones, which was awful, could possibly be seen as a better film. And I think it comes down to just a bias from the critics. And I really honestly believe that they are really trying to drive the score or keep the score tempered to not pass that film from 2016. It notes on to say there that film, the 2016 one, opened to $46 million domestically. So that is all that I want this film to be able to surpass. If it can at least beat that domestically, that will make me happy. Off of a $144 million production cost, and then also B+ cinema score. Cinema score doesn't mean a damn thing. It went on to make $229 million worldwide. This new version, scripted by Jason Reitman, stars Will Wolfhard, McKenna Grace, Carrie Coon, Logan Kim, and Paul Rudd, cost apparently $75 million. So this film cost almost half of what the 2016 one cost, which might explain why the effects don't look that great. So I think that's kind of a way to kind of give it a little bit of an understanding at the very least. If this film can at least be able to beat the domestic and especially worldwide premiere of Ghostbusters 2016, that'll be a win in my book. It does not need to make nearly as much to make its money back, whereas this just atrocity, right? $144 million production cost before this. It only made $229 million. Again, massive flop from the 2016 film. Oh my goodness. So again, The only way that we can ensure this, though, is to go out and see this film. I know that one of my Valkyrie, the Empress of the Universe, Tina, is going to see this film this weekend. She does not go out to see these films very often, but she's going to support this one. If you are a fan of the franchise, or if you just hate Ghostbusters 2016 and you want to see and smack that film in the face once again, hey, the best way to do that is to go see this film. That's all I have to say about it. But anyway, what are your thoughts? Do you think that Ghostbusters Afterlife is going to get in this $40 to $60 million range, maybe even get over the $60 million range? Again, that's kind of my hope for this movie, or at least well over the $45 million worldwide number that they are projecting. Let me know your thoughts about that. And anything else I mentioned in the comment section below. If you like this video, smash that like button, loud that fire button, smash the rumble button. Really does mean a lot. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my November Patreon, Subscribestar, and Locals members. Starting first off with Patreon, Andrew Hoyle, animation commentator, Brandon, Brian P., Christopher Bowman, Dolores Ed, Dion, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Harold Francis, Inflamed Wood, Jacob the Juice, JC, Jeffrey Toon, Joe Horn, Jonathan Carney, Gomer Kyle 79, Laura the Modern Major General Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mondo Spieler, Mr. Peabody, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Priscilla Hall, Rosetta Ullen, Stan Andrian, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, and Tina B, the Empress of the Universe. And a shout out to my Subscribestar members, UAB, Mad Dog, Storm Tracker, The R, Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, Stan 4, John B, Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J, Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss / the new number 2, and J Rod, the Beer Guru, and of course, ZK Man. Thank you very much for supporting me over there. And to my 3 supporters over on locals.com, Kara Tharp, Bifford a Hobbit, and Robert Barnes. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and every video I do on the channel, check out that top link in the description below to find out how to sign up to the various levels that exist, including the most basic level where you get a shout out, the secondary level, the Army of Asgard, where you get that, plus access to a giveaways exclusive server where I give away things like 4Ks and Blu-rays and digital codes. All kinds of stuff, a lot of fun. You then also have the Keeper of the Bifrost level where you get all that stuff, plus access to an exclusive podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger. You get to ask us questions, and you get also access to that and the entire library of podcast episodes that we have done. And then there is, of course, the Chosen of Valhalla level, where not only do you get all of that, but also in your first month, you get a t-shirt of your choice and sent to you anywhere in the world. Of course, just let me know your size and the color option that you want. It'll be sent to you that first month. And also, you get to be featured on the once a month Chosen of Valhalla live stream, where we have a ton of fun talking about movies and projects and all kinds of stuff. Pretty much anything that the Chosen wants to talk about is on the table. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, check out that top link. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.